Hey everyone, Matt here on another edition of Ask Ron. Ron, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good. That's what I like to hear. All right, we have quite a few questions today, so we'll go ahead and jump right on into it. First four questions we have are from Tony and Angie Stewart, who are up in Ohio, and they said they'll be seeing you at the boot camp on September 5th to the 8th.
I remember.
Yeah.
Leads. Tony and Angie, if you come in that building and you don't have a stack of leads, I'm going to put you up in front of the room and make you explain why. Just saying.
There you go. You better have some leads, guys.
Yep.
All right. Their first question is, do we have any requirements to give any kind of written notice to lease option applicants as to why we did not approve their application?
That's state by state, something you need to find out on your local platform. You know, there are always rules about dealing with tenants, whether they're tenant buyers or not. I can't sit here and tell you what, for example, you can't even ask them what sex they are. You can't ask them personal questions. In fact, I don't think you can ask them anymore what race you are. Better get the list. You can get the list right off of Google if you want to, but I don't think you got an issue there by asking them what you want to know.
Perfect. Their next question is, Angie gave our housekeeper, we outsource everything, a business card to let her know that we buy and sell houses. Her eyes lit up and she said, my husband and I are trying to buy a house, but we do not have any social security cards. Is there anything we can do to help them at this point?
Absolutely. They don't need a social security card for you to sell them a house with owner financing or to lease option them a house. There's no requirement that they have, as far as I know. Again, another one of those things you better check out. But I'm going to tell you, we got about 6 million new visitors to our country here in the last couple of years, and they're going to find a place to live. And don't sell all of these folks short. First thing you need to look at is what they went through just to get here. Most Americans would not go through that to get here. So they are on a mission to succeed, and some of them will succeed very well, legal or illegal. Okay, I ain't definitely not for illegal either, but I've dealt with a lot of immigrants, and they pay their bills on time. And maybe I might put 10 people in a house, but they pay their bills on time, and I don't find any problem at all working with them. And I'm just saying this because we're in a changing country right now. We better get used to the fact that a lot of immigrants we're going to have to work with. And that doesn't mean they're bad people at all. There are bad people among them, though, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, there's bad people everywhere.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to the next question. It is, I am truly appreciating what your VAs do for our business. Sometimes when they are calling leads, the seller won't talk to them. In your opinion, is it worth it to call these leads back? Or is it a waste of my time because they don't seem to be motivated? Or should I follow up with them later?
Well, I teach that you call all of them. But look, we're on the phone a minute. You figure they're not going to work anyway, but you never know because one pops through every now and then that surprises you. Mm-hmm. And you got to also remember that when the VA was asking them if they would consider other options, that kind of took them by surprise, and they just answered no. Doesn't mean they understood what we're talking about. They certainly don't understand anything about terms. But usually if they want all cash, they won't even give you a chance to explain terms, so at least you're not on the phone very long. And I also taught you, and I'll teach you again when I see you in Columbus, you want to get that phone out of your life as soon as you can. And you can get somebody to make those pre-screening calls, and if you want, and then just verify that they will talk about something other than terms, and then they can get you on the phone or tell them that you'll be calling them right back or whatever. So you got to call them all. You generate the leads. A lot of them that you pay to generate like most of them that you pay to generate are not going to be deals either, but you got to call them all. And it doesn't take much time. Let's say you got a 3-minute call, 10 calls, 30 minutes. What are you going to do with 30 minutes is more important than that. Plus you get to practice handling that call, and that's very important.
Yep, that's right. All right, their next two questions are in regards to LLCs. So their first question is, in the 4 LLCs, which LLC should own the land trust for my personal residence?
It can be B, C, or D. For that matter, B, C, or D.
All right, they have some options.
D, because it doesn't own anything. Not liable for anything anyway. So now that's just as trustee now. Okay, an LLC is not the beneficiary of a trust that owns your house. You guys are, and tenants. I don't think you're in attendance by the entirety of the state, but I'll see you in a week or so. We'll discuss this again because I could go on forever about it. Kind of struggling with my voice today.
I'm right there with you, Ron. I'm trying to make sure my voice isn't scratchy when I'm talking to you. All right, their next question and last question is, I am going through your awesome Protecting Your Empire course. My question is, in regards to my 4 LLCs, when exactly should I set each of them in relation to when I get started?
Well, obviously you don't need any of them if you're not going to do anything, but I know you guys are. You're going to need a B to be your operating entity, because that pays for all your travel and training, and all your expenses of doing business actually is in B. And I'd get one of those set up right away and get a bank account open and so forth. And by the way, you want to know what my first LLC was called? Like fresh out of a seminar, I called it MIM Properties, MIM, Millionaire in the Making. And hey, it worked. Okay. So anyway, you're going to need that one first. Now, first time you take a property that you're going to put a tenant buyer in, you really ought to have a C ready there. And then the D is totally optional on your part. Again, I use it for a utility company and never will own anything. So when you get the rolling, you can get them all 4 set up. But right now, I mean, you can buy a house without even having an LLC. You just be the beneficiary of the trust if you want. But depends on how active you're going to get in the business. And I get the sense that you two are going to be very active. I'm going to be here in the future.
All right, that was the last question from Tony and Angie.
Thank you for all 4 of them, guys. Thank you. Appreciate them.
Our next 3 questions are from Robert up in Oregon.
Oregon.
Robert says, hey, Ron, I much preferred printed versions of your book, CD, and DVD programs that you offer in your Gold Club store. What made you decide to go the way of instant access?
What the heck, translate.
I was wondering why you don't have any CDs or books or DVDs anymore, and it's just all instant on the internet.
Okay. Well, you must be old. You wouldn't be asking me that question if you weren't old. The problem is, if we send you CDs, where are you going to play them at? Okay, you ain't playing, and you can't even play them in your car anymore. But no, you got out of style, and so few people want them because honestly, most people pick up their telephone and watch all their lessons on it. I can't stand doing that, but that's the world we live in. Just between you and me, if it was up to me, we still have CDs. In fact, we might even still have 8 tracks if it was up to me. So the good thing it's not up to me. And no place to play them.
8 tracks, bring it back.
Now, some of these courses, I think we still do have some CDs in the building, but I don't know the answer to that one. I think if one wanted CDs, we probably could get them made for them instead of the link that we send you. Of course, you can do the same thing. Just
burn it on a CD.
Yeah, just right. Burn a CD if you go get the equipment to do it with.
All right.
CDs, you might make that investment because you might want to turn all of the stuff we send you into CDs.
Yeah. All right, Robert's next question is, Ron, I want to buy your new book. Are you going to have it available in any of the bookstores nationwide soon?
They're all already available on Amazon. Not all of them, but the 3 that I've got right now certainly are, including my newest one, Lessons Learned. Yeah, I'm told it's on Amazon.
Yep, it is. It is. I think he's referring to maybe the physical copy.
What copy?
The physical copy, the actual book.
I'm talking about the physical copy. I got them all.
Yeah,
You
but
get them
I
all.
think he wants to buy them at a bookstore. He doesn't want to go on Amazon.
Well, just contact our office. We have them in stock.
There you go, Robert. And his last question is, do you give discounts on your new book if a person buys a large quantity of them?
Yeah, but you got to tell me what a large quantity, and I'll tell you right now, before you go checking. The last books we had printed cost us over $5 a book. I mean, I used to get them for $2, so the price went through the roof. So based on that, and we're probably probably marking about maybe 10% or so plus shipping. So if you want to pay that much, we'll work that out.
Perfect. All right, moving on to our next two questions. They're from Steve in Illinois. Steve says, under what circumstances can we terminate the lease option agreement and revert to a standard landlord-tenant relationship? For instance, can we incorporate a clause in the option agreement that states if the tenant buyer misses a payment, their purchase option will be revoked?
That's right. That it doesn't say that it will. I think it says that it may. But regardless of whatever it says, that's totally up to you. And I mean, you better be careful because you're looking for trouble. Okay. And you don't want to create something that might turn into a lawsuit with your tenant buyers, especially something as little. And now, look, if they don't pay their rent, obviously they're going to get evicted, automatically terminates their option. But they can terminate their option without terminating their lease. For what reason, I don't know why, but you think you're going to take $20,000, $30,000 away from somebody just because they're late on a payment. You're going to have a tough time with that one if it goes to court. And you don't want it to go to court. You never know what bleeding heart judge you're going to get. And I'm telling you, I've seen judges rule totally against the law, but it doesn't seem to apply to them. Okay. The law is the law. We comply by it, but I'm telling you, some judges just don't. They feel sorry for somebody or whatever, or maybe, especially if it's a liberal judge. And you don't ever want to get in front of a liberal judge that's out to punish us tall hat rich landlords because they're no, I ain't gonna get off on that tangent. All right. So
I was waiting for you to get
okay. I'll never terminate their option unless I'm terminating their lease as well. And if they default on their lease, they're automatically terminating their option. So the most I'd do if I was you, just send them a notice. Please don't make me terminate your option. If you look in your lease on paragraph blah 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 blah, if you don't live up to the terms of your lease agreement, then you automatically forfeit your option. I don't want to do that to you. So get your rent in here. But that doesn't mean that I won't follow the same procedure. I'm telling you, if they're late on their rent, I'm most certainly going to try to contact them to find out what's going on. When they start giving me all the whiny excuses, I'm closing my ears because I don't care anymore. I agreed to give you the house, you agreed to give me the rent. And when people don't pay me the rent, I feel like they're putting a gun in my ear and get ready to blow my brains out because they're robbing from me. It's no different than if they go rob a bank. They're robbing me. They don't pay the rent. So I'm not going to let them get away with it very long. Now, of course, I got to tell you, I think I've had one lease option tenant buyer in all these years that's actually challenged me to get the deposit back, and they lost because I had all the documents. They had no case. They didn't pay their rent. And in that case, I didn't even evict them. They didn't pay the rent and they just moved. And then they come after me to get the deposit back. So I'm not worried about that as long as you got the right documents up front and you close with an attorney.
All right. Our next question from Steve. He says, when a lease option tenant buyer has an appraisal and it came in lower than the option price, what kind of solutions do you have? I was thinking of two things in the option agreement. Whatever appraisal comes in, the option price will never change and the buyer has to bring a cash to pay the balance. The seller can provide the seller financing as a second lien with 10% of the balance with a 3-year balloon. What do you think?
Well, it is true. I wish you'd have told me how far below it came. But the other option is, of course, lower the price to meet the appraisal. And another one is make them get another appraisal. But that's not going to work for you unless you can dispute that with a couple good comps that are very good comps, and the appraiser used too low comps, which they'll do sometimes. Or you can find out they got anything you want to trade for the balance. But, don't start a pissing match because the appraisal came in low. Don't show your muscle and tell them how big and powerful you are. Work it out peacefully, no matter what it takes, even if you have to discount the price. It's probably true that you overpriced it to begin with because you've been listening to me. All right. But in this case, not going to work. You got to work out the difference. And that's happened to me several times, but I always worked it out. The easiest thing to do is give them credit and lower the price.
Right. All right. Our next question is from Sheryl, who is with us in Florida.
Sheryl?
Sheryl says, Florida homeowners insurance is spiking so high that people I know with free and clear homes are worried about affording to stay in their homes. This happened to many older friends in New York over 20 years ago. Is there any recourse for Florida property owners regarding what seems to be a monopoly?
No, we can't control the insurance prices, and I feel your pain. But to say that my insurance is so high, I can't afford to live in the house anymore on a free and clear house, I think it's just stretching a little bit. It's not that high if you don't have a mortgage payment. But when you are mortgaged up to the max, and then your insurance starts getting really up there, it is going to be painful for a lot of folks. Now, look, I just got through doing a podcast with Dave Randolph about short sales. He just told me there are 1,875,000 people now that are over 30 days late on their mortgage payment. Jeez, and it's climbing. That's a lot of people. That's why you guys probably ought to get tuned into attacking the mortgage, the foreclosure part of our business and short sales. We did this podcast on short sales. We're looking forward now because we did 2 of them. We had so much information, we had to do 2. And I think I'm gonna try to get Nikki to put them on there back and back, or Debbie and me, put them on back and back. There's a lot of good information in those. And so short sales is working back into our future, where way back, in the 90s, man, we did a ton of short sales, and even back into the 80s. Now, what was the question? I totally forgot.
Is there any recourse for Florida property owners regarding the high insurance rates?
You got to insure your property. What are you going to do? Okay, I don't know who can control that. Governor DeSantis is trying, but I don't think there's any laws that can make them stay in business. So they're going to have to start already being state supported here, but they're still getting out of reach. These darn hurricanes keep coming down here. Now, if I live inland, you might be able to not include hurricane coverage on your policy, and that's a big chunk of your policy, I can tell you. If you want to take that chance. Of course, 2 months later, a hurricane going to come wipe off your roof. But
that's right.
But it's your option. And the house I'm living in right now, I got to incur $25,000 worth of damage before my insurance company will pay me anything on a windstorm. Jeez. So anyway, I don't know how to handle that. Of course, you can always move to Georgia, I guess. I don't know what their premiums are.
There you go. That's a solution. All right, Ron, we're up to our last question here.
Okay.
And this one's from Nyrinda in California. Nyrinda says, what's missing from this statement that you advise to put under the legal description? The beneficial interest of this trust blank
resides in the property as their principal residence.
Perfect.
That's for homestead exemption.
Yep, there you go, Nyrinda.
Now, you don't need that now unless you're in a state that's got homestead exemption, like Florida or Texas. I know there's a few others, but if they don't have homestead exemption, there's no reason putting that in on the deed. It goes on the deed. Okay, is that all we got?
That's it. That was all for today.
Those are always all easy questions. Didn't make me think too much on those.
Well, we'll try again next week.
Guys, if you haven't been to the Quick Start School yet, you got a few days yet to get enrolled. I'm doing a live one in Columbus, Ohio, starting on 5th, I think, of September. And yep. So, come see me. And if you have attended virtual events and you have not been to a live, you have not been to the Quick Start School yet. If you're attending a virtual, you come to live free. You got to get to a live event. Right? It's 4 days out of your life that might change your life. We even do deals in the live events. We have mentors there calling your leads that you bring, and then ones that we get through to and have an oral agreement where we put up on the stage and everybody sees where the money is at. So I'm telling you, there's nothing like what we do in this event. So we teach pretty and the ugly house business, and where to get the money and how to sell a house on autopilot and the whole thing. So get registered. I'd love to see you come in Columbus. We're going to have a very active group there. All right, that's it for today. Yes. Okay. I'll see you all later next week.